Well, hey there, and welcome to Unmistakably You. I'm Amy, and I'm a wedding planner here in London, Ontario. And I come to you every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, whether you're catching us on Facebook or on YouTube Live. And we talk about items that hopefully are helpful to you as you navigate your wedding planning. If you've been keeping track of us for the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a series about the roles of different people in your wedding. So feel free to pop on back into our archives and check those out. Today, we are tackling the roles of your parents on your wedding day. And I mean, I certainly don't pretend to be able to give you a completely comprehensive view of everything that your parents or your godparents or your step parents or your grandparents or your aunts and uncles or other important people in your life could do or might do or may want to do on your wedding day. But I'm here to just kind of hit a few of the highlights of what would be expected traditionally versus how times have changed. And that's the great thing about the wedding industry, is that it's constantly evolving and changing with the times. And it's part of why my job stays interesting, because people are constantly finding new ways of doing things and incorporating the people that they love into their special day. So I just wanted to hit a couple of highlights today about those loved ones and ways to incorporate them into your wedding. Whether you do a blend of traditional and non-traditional or more modern ways, or you stick traditional or you forego all of the traditions, there are no wedding police. So the goal is always that you do what you're comfortable with and what your families are comfortable with to make sure that you can show your love for those people who have raised you and shown you their love for the length of your life thus far. So first and foremost, keep in mind that your parents and any other loved adults, grown-ups, as it were, they probably have the best of intentions, and they love you a lot and they want the best for you. And I mean, that probably means that they will have opinions and sometimes they will be pushy, but try to keep in mind that more often than not, it's coming from a place of love. You may need to have some difficult discussions. You may need to stand firm on the things that are priorities to you and your partner. You may need to have those challenging conversations where you say, no, actually, I value your opinion, but we are not doing that. That's not what we want to do. So as you navigate the wedding planning, you start to realize that nothing is as easy and romantic as it maybe seems in the movies. And there are always some pitfalls and challenges to deal with. So if you have experienced any of those, feel free to pop in a comment. If you have any questions, if you are a parent and you're wondering where your role may land in your child's wedding, again, pop a comment in and say hi. I want to talk about traditions first of all, and let's start with pre-wedding traditions. Again, the world is changing rapidly, and there are no wedding police, so you can honestly adapt or change or omit or incorporate any of these traditions as you see fit and with what works for you. But prior to the wedding, traditionally, we would have seen the parents of the bride paying for the wedding, which of course would mean that they get a fair amount of input and also usually a fair amount of guests of their own invited. We would traditionally see the parents of the groom paying for the rehearsal dinner and the honeymoon. We would traditionally see moms throwing bridal showers, because showers traditionally would have been strictly a female thing. For either side of the family. So the mom of the bride would throw a shower for her family side, and the mom of the groom would throw a separate shower, oftentimes for their family side. Traditionally, the mom of the bride would go wedding dress shopping, help with setting up the registry, and act as a general sounding board for any wedding decisions, usually helping to plan if you live in a different city, giving advice, helping to keep things organized. On the wedding day, traditionally, again, mom would put bride in dress for photos. Traditionally, dad would drive bride to church to have those last few minutes with his little girl. Parents or just dad, most traditionally, would walk you down the aisle. Perhaps parents might be asked to do a reading, give a speech at the reception, do those traditional first dances. So the father-daughter and the mother-son dance would be the two most traditional ones that would happen during the reception. And traditionally, because the parents of the bride would be hosting the wedding, they would also be the last to leave. So they would be responsible after the wedding for making sure that the gifts are taken care of, for tying up the loose ends, for making sure that the wedding gets shut down properly, and that, nothing bad happens at the end of the night. They would also help return rentals. And very traditionally, they would also help move the bride into her new house with the groom. Now, these traditions, some of them date back decades. Some of them have been revised in recent years. A lot of them are completely omitted these days because nowadays there really are no rules. I would just encourage you to have open conversations where you're honest about your priorities with your loved ones and to try to find ways to make them feel special on the wedding day and before the wedding day. So let's talk really quickly about some of the things that we are seeing now in terms of ways to show love for your parents. We're seeing a lot more step parents, of course, ways to incorporate godparents or grandparents or aunts and uncles or anyone who has had any place of importance in your life as you've grown up to the point at which you're getting married. So prior to the wedding, there really these days are no rules on who pays for the wedding. And quite often we see the couple paying for the lion's share of the wedding. Oftentimes there are contributions from one or both sets of parents. And while those are really difficult conversations, I encourage you to have those when you're in the initial stages of budgeting for your wedding, instead of counting on mom and dad to give me money and then it's less than you anticipate and you find that you're over budget. You want to make sure that you know all the information first, even though those are oftentimes challenging conversations to have. These days, wedding showers are fair game. I talked about this a little bit last week when we talked about the rules of your wedding party. We often see co-ed showers if you are in a heterosexual relationship. We see same-sex showers if you're in a same-sex relationship. There are no rules. We can do single showers, we can do couples showers, and it doesn't really matter who throws those showers as long as it's not you. You should not be throwing a shower for yourself. I also see parents still acting as a sounding board, and a lot of those traditions are still observed. Like if there is a wedding dress to be purchased, often mom does go to do that, but doesn't have to. Again, keep in mind the feelings of your parents and how you can honor those feelings along every step of the planning journey. When you get to during the day, these days we see lots of different roles for parents. I've seen parents in the wedding party as mom of honor or best dad. I've seen parents officiating the wedding, which is always really special. I have seen parents holding rings. So instead of giving rings to a ring bearer or to the best man or maid of honor, you could have the alternate parent hold the rings and then give them to their child when it's time for that part of the ceremony. I really just encourage you to keep in mind that your parents are probably going to do this whole "my kid is getting married" thing not very many times, unless you're from a family of many, many, many children. Chances are they're only going to get a couple of shots at this. And I really find that parents are so emotionally and often financially invested that they can't enjoy the day. And so I would encourage you to do whatever you can to try and help your parents to be able to relax and really be present to celebrate with you on the day. And here comes the plug. Hire a coordinator if you can at all. If you're not working with a full service wedding planner, please do try to hire at the very least a day of coordinator to make sure that your parents don't have to solve any of those problems. I apologize. I'm getting over a 2-week cold. 1 second. One of the many reasons I could never be an actress. Back to responsibilities on the wedding day. We still see most couples asking their parents or one of their parents to give a speech as they're comfortable. Many still do first dances, although this can look however it feels right to you, depending on your family dynamics. We still see a lot of father daughter dances and a lot of mother son dances, but I also see a lot of mom daughter dances. Or if you have children of your own, we see a lot of family dances with your kids being brought into the dance floor. You can incorporate step parents into any part of this if they've played an important role in your growing up. I also often see other family members filling in for parents who aren't there. If unfortunately one of your parents has passed, perhaps there's another family member, an older brother or an older sister or an aunt or an uncle who might fill in for that special dance and find a way to do it to honor that parent who can't be there. I would advise you also, as I've been mentioning, not to limit involvement to just your parents. There are lots of ways to show love for those other important people in your life. So there are things that I've seen lately, like honoring step parents with bouquet or boutonnieres and corsages as well, instead of just bio parents. Have them escort you down the aisle as well. There's been a recent trend of grandmas as flower girls, which, if done respectfully, can be very adorable. We've seen aunts and uncles doing readings. I've seen couples request that their bouquet be made to break away, and so that as they walk down the aisle, they're able to detach little posies from their bouquet and hand them to meaningful people in their lives. You might ask your godparents or your step parents or your parents, your grandparents, to do a ring warming prior to the ceremony. So asking guests to pass the rings through the ceremony and infuse them with their love and well wishes. You could have your uncle ask the blessing before dinner. Literally anyone can give a speech. Does not have to be your traditional five of best man, maid of honor, parents, and the couple. You could ask anyone to give a speech, although we've done lives about that in the past as well. So check back in our archives for some speech suggestions. And I have resources for you to give to your parents and anyone giving a speech as well. So if you want those, shoot me an email, amy@unmistakably.you.com, and I'll pass them your way. I've also seen special dances that incorporate grandparents, or you might even consider doing what's called an anniversary dance, where you ask all of the guests to get up on the dance floor, and then you strategically have your DJ or your MC ask anyone who's been married for less than 6 hours to sit down. So you and your new partner go and sit down. Anyone who's been married less than 6 months, less than a year, less than 5 years, and then ultimately, as guests leave the dance floor, you're left with the couple who has been married the longest, which, if you are strategic and thoughtful about this, can often be your grandparents. And that's a lovely way to honor the length and love of their relationship, and perhaps even to gift them with your bouquet. It's a lovely gesture in lieu of a bouquet toss, which we're seeing less and less of these days. So ultimately, there are tons of ways that you can show love to your parents and then to other influential people, adults in your life. Just think about your relationship with them, what would make them comfortable, how you can show your love, and remember that there are no rules. Thank you, as always, for joining me here. Next week, I will see you at the same time and the same place, where we're going to talk about the roles of your guests. Maybe something that you don't think much about prior to the wedding, but you will definitely think about on the day of, if there are guests being disrespectful or doing things you don't anticipate. So join us for that. As always, don't hesitate to reach out if there are any questions that you have, any concerns you have in your planning process, or if you just want to share a success or a win that you've had in your wedding planning this week. Either pop a comment on here or shoot me a direct message, amy@unmistakably you. You can reach out to me through Facebook as well. Until next week, folks, happy planning, and I will talk to you soon.